Well, it goes without saying we're really excited to be here, really proud of this team. We've earned our way in here by the way we've played this year, and just excited to play against a really tough, well-coached, good Vanderbilt team. To me, there's a lot of similarities in the two teams. You got good kids who play hard, play together. And if you look at their body of work, especially over the last month of the season, they've played some outstanding basketball with some big-time wins, and we know what's going to be ahead of us. They're very disciplined. They spread you out. They can really shoot the ball, and they feast on teams that make mistakes against them, especially defensively. If you don't communicate well, if you're not locked in, they're going to find the open guy, and they're especially at the three-point line, they can be devastating when they get it going from there. So it's going to be a tough challenge tomorrow, but our guys we've had a couple days to really lock in on preparation, kind of get through the hoopla and excitement of all the selection show and things like that, and get back to work on the practice floor, and we're here to try to win the game. And we know what's at stake, and you got to be at your best this time of year because everyone is really good.
Any questions for Coach Collins?
Hey, Chris. Teddy Greenstein, Chicago Tribune. Bryce Drew said you and he saw each other at a Cubs World Series game. I guess that'd be Game 4. Recall that moment if you can, and what your relationship with him is.
Yeah, well, Bryce and I have been friends for a long time. I've known him since he's been in high school. I've known his family, his father, someone I really respect. Known his brother, obviously, too. And, we have a lot in common. So we've always kind of connected because we come from basketball families. Our dads were coaches. We grew up in gyms and in the game. And so we've always kind of connected on that level and gotten along really well. It was pretty funny, actually. I don't think he recognized me at first because I had a full uniform on that night. So he was dressed all nice. He had a nice shirt on and slacks. I had my Cubs jersey on, my hat on backwards. I might have had some eye black on. I'm not sure, but he kind of did a double take, like when I went and said hello to him. But it's pretty funny. We were with our wives, and I wish we would have taken a group photo if we would have known this would happen. But we each took our photos with our wives with Clark the Cub, and gave each other a little hug, yelled "Go Cubs," and kept it moving. But it's funny to think about that now.
Chris, Ryan Baker from CBS 2 Chicago. Back to the connection between you and Bryce being coaches' kids, and I asked him this, for you being a first-time head coach, does it ever become, your dad is involved, but does he ever become too involved, or how is that situation for him with so much experience and input and that he's had on you being like your first mentor in being a head coach?
Yeah, it's actually, I've been very fortunate. My personal experiences with my dad is, at the end of the day, he wants to be my dad. So he's had a great way of, if he ever senses that he's overstepping his bounds he backs off. And if he does come to practice, he's never on the floor. He goes up in the seats, and when practice is over, our guys go and talk to him and listen to all the old stories. And he's kind of like the grandpa to all of them, which he loves. But he's been great. He never tries to do anything with X's and O's. The thing that he's really helped me with is kind of the program building. For my dad, every situation he took over in the NBA was a rebuild, was a team that was struggling, that needed to change a culture and find a winning attitude and a winning way. And so he had great advice with those things, the things that we've had to do over the past 4 years to kind of get ourselves to that winning mindset. So I'm very fortunate that at the end of the day, he's my dad. When I played, he didn't try to coach me. He always tried to get me around really good coaches, because he didn't want to do anything to upset the father-son relationship. And I think because of that, our relationship is great, and I really admire for him the way he's handled me with those things. He'll be here tomorrow, which is exciting.
Coach, Eddie Pels from AP. Obviously you had a lot of things you needed to change at Northwestern. I know it's a really strong academic school, so what were the advantages and disadvantages of that, I guess, as you try to build a program?
Yeah, I tried to really focus when I first took over on the advantages versus the disadvantages. Obviously, we had some disadvantages. There wasn't a history of winning and tradition, and We were in the process of kind of, which we are doing now, redoing all of our facilities and all those things. And maybe the perception of the program wasn't that great when it came to basketball. But I tried to focus on the things that were positive. The fact we were in the Big Ten, the fact we were at a great academic school that could offer, the best of both worlds for young men out there. And also where we are, right outside of Chicago, the resources of what the city brings and the beautiful campus and all those. I thought we had a lot to kind of build off with that. Then it was our mission and to change the mindset of what people thought of Northwestern basketball. And, there had to become a culture of work. That was the first thing. I wanted to have guys that wanted to be great basketball players and great students. There's no reason, why can't you want both? And so that's what we wanted. We wanted guys that wanted to be at a place like Northwestern for everything that it had to offer, not just the academics, not just the basketball, but both. And, fortunately for us, we were able to go out in the first year and get a great core of guys that have represented the foundation of our program, with Bryant McIntosh, Vic Law, Scotty Lindsey, and Gavin Skelly. And we've kind of built off of them with the two seniors of Taphorn and Lumpkin. And little by little, you see some of the changes occur, and it doesn't happen overnight. And the hardest part during the whole thing was the last thing that kind of turns the corner are the wins and losses. There were so many wins I was seeing behind the scenes with how our guys were working, how they were training, their attitudes, their commitment, but we couldn't get over the hump with the wins. And it really took into last year with the 20-win season and then carry over into this year to kind of really get over the hump with learning how to win in tough situations and big moments.
Hey, Chris. Michelle from ESPN. I wanted to talk a little bit about the altitude. Obviously playing in the Big Ten, you don't get an opportunity that much to play in this kind of altitude. Has that changed your approach to practice, and is there anything that your staff is doing maybe extra with the guys to counteract that?
Well, we're trying to keep them as hydrated as possible. That's always very important, and we've got a great team of trainers and doctors and all that are on top of all of that. But I think the main thing was we were able to get out here yesterday afternoon. We were able to get a good workout in. I thought our guys' long flight, all that, it really helped us for today, and I think it'll really help us for tomorrow, being able to get in here and kind of get our feet underneath us, get a good sweat, get a good workout, kind of take all that in. And so I think after a couple days, I don't think it's as big a factor. And especially if you don't let it be a factor, I think it's a lot of times, sometimes some of that can be a mindset. If in this time of year, you shouldn't let anything cloud your mind. What can be a distraction towards playing really well, because in an NCAA tournament format, you gotta play at your best, and you got 40 minutes, and if you don't, you're going home. So there's a sense of urgency on every possession.
Hey, Chris. Vinny Duber,
Hey,
CSN
Vin.
Chicago. Vic has mentioned a few times this season about how when he committed, he had people asking him, why did you pick Northwestern? I'm sure you had some of that when you took the job.
Mm-hmm.
Has it felt like vindication for you guys to those people who were questioning why you could do this?
Yeah, I don't know if it's vindication. I just, in my heart, I always believed that this could be really good. I just did. I grew up 10, 15 miles from the campus. I'd been on the campus. I knew it was gorgeous. I played my final high school game in that arena, and it was packed. It was sold out. It was an electric atmosphere. And I just always thought with the location, the kind of school, I just thought if you kind of got the right guy in there and you could get the right players, I thought it could become something special. I did, and maybe a lot of people didn't, but I believed. And then my mission was to go out. I can't play anymore. All I can do is stand over the sideline and call plays and run practices. I needed to find players that believed the way I did. And Vic was the first guy, and it was a monumental recruit for us. He was a local product, Chicago kid. It kind of instantly, he had the perception in the city as being a very good prospect and a recruit, was recruited by a lot of top programs. For him to kind of have the courage to say, you know what, I see something in this coach, I see something in this program, it really got the ball rolling for us to start what we've been able to build over the last 4 years.
Dave.
Chris, Dave Revson for the Big Ten Network. obviously, and I asked this of Sanjay and Brian too, and they talked about wanting to win, and I get that. Obviously, you're not here just to be here, but what does it mean to be here? I mean, the fact that you kind of had this uphill slog here for 4 years trying to do something that so many people told you couldn't be done, and now you have arrived. What are the emotions that have gone through as you stepped off that plane with these kids yesterday?
Yeah, it's special. I mean, I said it on Sunday afterwards. I mean, for all of us, I mean, how many times in any of our lives do you get a chance to do something historical that has never, ever been done? And these guys have. This group has. They're the first ones. And hopefully it's just, to me, it's not an end game, though. I talk about that, too. I want this to be the beginning of our program, and hopefully the sign of more success and more, NCAA tournaments. But there's no question, the first time is special. The first selection show you watch when you see your name, it's special. And I want them to be excited. I want them to feel that they've done something really good. And the thing I love about this group, though, is once kind of all that passed from Sunday into Monday, they've really locked in now to wanting to win here. They don't just want to be here and show up and go home. I mean, it's nice to be invited to the party. It's nice to be invited to the dance, all those things. But you want to stay for a little while. And to do that, you got to go out and win. But I think we're going to really get reflective when it's all over. I think right now you're in a whirlwind. You're practicing. You're preparing. You're getting ready to play. I think, when this is all done, whenever that may be, we hope to extend it as far as we can. I think that's when we can all really get reflective and really be proud of the accomplishments that this team did. A lot of historical moments, a lot of milestones that have never happened at our school in our history.
Chris, David Hoff from Chicago Tribune. So Bryant was talking about how you actually have players who are working on final papers this week. Are you aware of that?
Sure.
How real is that challenge? And how have you been able to manage, the biggest week of their athletic careers with the academic reality?
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, we're on a quarter system academically, so this is finals week. So fortunately, a lot of our players, there's a couple guys that have exams, but most of the guys are final papers. So on the plane, on our off time, we have our academic advisor here working with the guys, and they're students too. I mean, that's the reality of this. They're student athletes, so trying to manage getting them their rest, but also doing their schoolwork and locking into game prep. It's something we've talked about since we were selected on Sunday, and something I admire about these guys because we're at a place where you do have to go to school, and so is Vanderbilt. It's a great school as we are, and these guys do have to go to class. They do have to write their papers. They do have to take the tests, and our guys are really diligent about wanting to do well in school. So it has been a different week for me. In my experiences, a lot of these schools are on spring break right now. So, and that was always my experience when I was at Duke. So this has been different for me as well, trying to manage all of that. But I've been really proud about how our guys have done this week, and we'll be ready to go. We'll be rested. They've done a good job. We'll get a good night's sleep tonight, and we'll be ready to go come 2:30 or whenever the tip is tomorrow.
Hi, Chris. Steve Greenberg from the Chicago Sun-Times. It's not your first time at a podium and a press conference and all that, but I wonder if it's your first time at an NCAA tournament podium. You probably did it as a player. Did you?
Player,
do it?
yeah, player.
Probably not as an assistant coach, right?
No.
So what do you remember about that day, that time in your life? How you felt? How it felt to, sit up there and be a spokesman?
Yeah,
player
no,
and
it's
all that?
well, it's exciting. It's what you dream about as a kid. I mean, at the end of the day too, I still have a lot of little kid in me. It's like wearing my jersey at the Cub World Series game. I think it's one of my strengths. And when I was a kid, every year, whenever the tournament came out, I would write up the brackets and I would go outside by myself and I would play the whole tournament, every game, just by myself. And I would announce both teams, and I knew all the players, and every game came down to a buzzer shot, and make or miss, that other team won, and I'd write it in, and I'd play the whole tournament for hours. So, my dream in life was to be a part of this. I always wanted to be on one shining moment. When I was a player, that was one of my biggest dreams, is Maybe I could be on that video one day. And so going through it as a player, especially in '94, we went to the national championship game. I was a starter on a team. So going through that run, through all the rounds, and see the media grow and the excitement and the open practices, those were dreams come true. And I'm sure it is for a lot of our guys right now. I mean, for them to be up here and for them to do the open practice soon and be out there with people here, and it's things you dream of as a kid, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's very healthy, that's very positive, and that's why you do it. I mean, that's why you work hard to be in these moments and hopefully see your hard work pay off to do these kinds of things.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. We'll
Deion
start
Miller
right
from
away.
Hey, Deion.
ABC7 in Chicago. You mentioned how you guys have handled things so well, but obviously there will be nerves tomorrow. Do you feel you have to do anything, say anything to kind of calm that, lack of a better description, like Hoosiers measure the basket, like it's the same stage, guys, it's all the same?
Yeah, I mean, I'll play that by ear. I mean, I've always been a coach to coach on instincts and gut feel, and you always need to take the temperature of your team and kind of see how they're at. If they're really fired up, if you see they're ready, you say less. If you feel like they're a little bit jittery or they're a little bit quiet in the locker room, maybe you do a little bit more rah-rah. And, I'll feel that out tomorrow as we get over here and kind of take a temperature of the locker room and see where they're at. We do have great leadership. We do have veterans, but every team in the NCAA tournament have nerves. I don't care who you are, what your seat is. Everybody's a little bit nervous. So I think it's important, the beginning of the game, can you find a way to get a layup? Can you get a turnover, something to see the ball going, something to break the ice where, okay, now we're playing ball, because there's no question that first minute for all these kids and on every team. I mean, I remember as a player, your heart's in your throat, you get tired really quick because you're nervous energy. And then, after a couple of possessions, you settle in and you kind of forget about where you are. You're just playing basketball. And hopefully we'll be able to do that quickly and get off to a good start tomorrow.
Hey, Coach, Zach Peerless, Inside NU. The first guy that you hugged, it seemed, after you guys were selected was Sanjay. For a guy who's been here for so long, what has he meant not only for you as you've grown this program, and then for the program overall? Just what has he meant?
Yeah, I mean, Sanjay's our rock, and he's such a selfless guy because you look at our stats, and he's never going to be the leading scorer. Stats aren't going to jump off the page, but he's an indispensable part of our program and our team. He's our leader. He brings his effort, his heart, his emotion every time he steps on the floor. And for 5 years, I mean, when I first got here, even before Taphorn got here, he was there when we started those spring workouts, when I first got the job in April of 2013. And so when this all started, he was there, and I am so happy that he's a captain on the first team that's been able to do this, because he deserves it, because he's put everything of himself into this program. He's put his individual agenda aside in order for us to win, to be a stopper, to be a rebounder, to be a glue guy. And I'm just so proud of him. I love him, and it's been a great 5 years having him on my side.
Okay, Coach. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you guys.
Congratulations and good
See you
luck
tomorrow.